the question of universal values is the first thing I think to address. Now, cultures clearly differ in many ways, but they don't differ as much as all that. What I mean by that is this. Years ago, I think it was 1940, C.S. Lewis wrote a prescient book, really, called The Abolition of Man. It's got an appendix. And in the appendix, he traced through all the world's major religions, philosophies, and cultures, and discovered that there was a set of common values. And it's quite remarkable. I remember coming across it as a teenager. He called these illustrations of natural law. And in particular, he found that every civilization, every religion, every culture, even Roman pagan religion, humanism, all the rest, all had what we now often call the golden rule. Do unto others as you would they did unto you. So that's there. And from where I sit, I reckon that because that appears to be hardwired into every human being, then society doesn't completely fall apart. You mentioned the word backstop, and it seems to me that we need to remind ourselves of these values, and they seem to be, in that sense, pretty absolute. People raise the question, aren't all believed in? And this is one of them. I often say to people, what about torturing babies? Is that wrong? And people think it's absolutely wrong. So there's one absolute for a start. We can start there. The problem, it seems to me, is not so much recognizing that there's a common base on which we operate. The problem is compliance, as many companies these days have discovered. How do you get the mission statement, the ethical mission statement of a company into the hearts of its executives? That's one of the problems. And it seems to me here that you have several different ways of grounding those values. And I think in thinking about it, we need to distinguish between the values that exist and the arguments people use to ground them. And they're basically three. First of all, that universal objective values are grounded in the matter of the universe and have simply proceeded by the laws of nature, etc., etc. And then others believe that values are creations of human beings. And then there finally is the position that I take, that they're grounded in the character of God, the Creator. So there are those three grounds, but it seems to me that the justification for absolute moral values is distinct from their existence. And the problem of, if you like, enforcing them, although maybe that's not the right word, is this. The dominant ethical system, and there are several ethical systems in our world, is preference utilitarianism, which roughly says you argue in the maximum benefit for the maximum number of people. It's a consequentialist ethic. And that works really well if there are equal centers of powers on the planet. If you're dividing ice cream among kids, you'd better use utilitarianism and give them exactly the same amount or you're in trouble. But the problem is that we live in a planet where the centers of power, particularly in this area, are not equal. And the difficulty is, if I have enough power that I don't care what you do to me. You say to me, look, if you do X, I will, and I'll say, yes, you will what? And this is exemplified in Hitler's day. In his political infancy, he drew up treaties. The moment he got the power, he tore them up. And I think that's a huge problem that we face today. And I don't know the answer to it at all, not really.